Life and its journey is not always rosy, right? There's some times where things are going to be going really well, and then there's some times where things are going to be very bad, right? And sometimes it's also important for us to know how to respond to certain situations, you get it? Because sometimes the way things turn out are not only dependent on the things that happen, but also on the way that we respond to certain things.
Hello and welcome to Hello Students. My name is Mohammed Nafari and I'm joined here today with Audrey Obuobisa. Audrey is an award-winning writer. She's doing amazing stuff, has her own YouTube channel and all of that. I'll put the links to her channel on the description below so that you can check out her channel. She has amazing stuff. And today we are discussing mental health and depression and how best as students we can be able to navigate depression. And because at one point in time we all have these low moments in time, so Audrey is here to help us with how we can be able to best deal with such situations. So Audrey, so excited to have you here.
Nafari, thank you for having me.
Okay. So we'll start off the conversation with depression in general. And basically, I want to share my story first. Mm-hmm. So there are times that we are on campus and then the workload on you, family problems, finances, relationships, so many things come into play as being a student. And then most times we don't have that tendency to navigate through. And so with my experience with depression, I wouldn't say it's depression per se, but then I'll call it a low moment because it was at the time that I wanted to be able to do more, but then I wasn't doing more. Yeah. And most times, I know I'm not alone. There are people of that sort who are out there. And so basically, do you have an experience with depression, or what does a typical depression state look like? Because most times we confuse ourselves with loneliness and being depressed, because depression is something very serious, and most times we self-diagnose ourselves. We are going through a low moment and then all of a sudden you see that, oh, I'm feeling depressed and all of that. So do you have a general understanding of depression, if there is?
Okay, well, yeah, so I can share a personal experience. Sure. So there's been times in my life where I've had really low moments, like you said. But then I guess when we talk about depression, we're basically talking about prolonged periods of time where somebody is feeling really low feelings all the time. And usually it's not just a one-time thing. You would experience that you're feeling really sad and down all the time for, let's say, a period of 1 week, 2 weeks, or even 1 month and more. And usually it's because maybe something has happened in your life. It could be incidental. It could be because of some negative thing that has happened. It could also be, typically because of chemical imbalances in your brain, right? Depression, like I said, is characterized by these low feelings. It could also be that when somebody is depressed, they are really tired all the time. They have very low motivation. So even the things that they typically like to do, you find that this person doesn't really do them anymore. And when we bring it to the context of school, for example, you'd find that maybe you'd see this friend and they're very happy or very energetic all the time, right? But then it comes to a point in time where you see them missing class a lot, or you find them posting certain things about their feelings, but they don't really talk about it. Or you find that they maybe withdraw from their friends, or they stop doing the things that they typically like to do. Maybe if you go out all the time, they stop doing all of that. And sometimes people who are depressed may become suicidal as well, because these feelings make them start to feel very worthless, very hopeless, and then they might not really find any meaning in life anymore. So a lot of people, or some people who are depressed, get to a point in time where they might feel like killing themselves off because they don't really have any motivation or any reason to still be alive. And like I said, when it comes to school, like you said, some of the causes of depression. So we bring it to the school context. Some people might be depressed because maybe they're doing a course in school, for example, that they don't want to do, right? They might have been pressured to do a certain course by their parents because this is the life path that they're expected to take. Do you get it? And I think it happens to a lot of us, right? somebody might be doing a certain course that they don't really want to do. Maybe their passion is in art or in writing and music and things like that. And that's what they feel like is the stuff of their life, right? So that's where they want their lives to go. But then they might have been directed to go in a different path. And so they might start to get depressed because they feel like their lives don't really have meaning anymore because the things that they're doing don't really mean anything to them. Exactly. So yeah, these are basically some of the things that might make somebody depressed.
Okay, so that's like impressive because I wanted to touch on the part that you want to do something and then your parents want you to do another thing. Most times it happens to almost all of us. Personally, myself, I remember when I was in high school, my dad wanted me to do business. He wanted me to do business, and the thing is that he wanted me to do business because in our family there's a business family, you see. And so when I got to school, I remember the first week I was doing business, orientation and all of that. I realized, no, business is not my thing. So I actually switched to general arts. But then I made it look as if this is very bad, so don't try this. Because I actually was doing general arts, but then my dad thought I was doing business.
Wow.
So I got to my final year, and then he came see when you're about to write was your parents would come. So he came and then, he was looking for me, he went to the business school. Oh, my son does business. No, then this is not my son. So finally, I came and asked me, what course am I reading? And I said, well, I'm doing general arts. I said, so what is for you have been doing general arts? But then I think that it's really a very tough issue because for me, maybe I had it lucky because my dad was not really constantly asking me of what to do. And then some people don't have a way out. So they find themselves in such a situation. And it eventually leads them to depression. So if I'm getting you right, depression is actually, you are doing things you don't enjoy. So because, for instance, you want to do business and then you end up doing medicine or you end up doing science, you see. So that way when you are in a class, you are not excited because it doesn't push anything in you. It's like you are just doing it because people want you to do, and there is no excitement to that. So I get that very much. And so the next part of the conversation is that let's recognize the fact that with depression, everybody has a different way of relating to it. And so there is really no that right criteria that you say that, okay, if you are in this set of period or if you are feeling this set of ways, then you are being depressed or all of that. And we should also be mindful of the fact that we are not medics. Yeah, we are just sharing our opinions on how we think depression is. And so if you wanted to share a personal experience of depression, I don't know if you'd be comfortable doing that.
Well, I can talk a little bit about it, but I just also wanted to touch on the fact that, well, we mentioned that maybe you not really being on a path that you think is right for you is one way in which some people might get depressed. But then there's so many other reasons, especially as we're in school, right? Maybe, you see, when you're in school, you need utmost attention and focus to study and to pursue whichever career path, let's say, you want to do, right? But then if there are certain distractions in your life or certain incidents that happen, for example, maybe the death of somebody, a loved one, right? That's very extreme, actually. Or it could be less extreme reasons, like maybe financial situations at home. That can really be a very big stressor on a lot of people. Maybe relationships that they might have in school. For example, if you're in school and you have, let's say, a friend or a boyfriend or a girlfriend, for example, usually if, let's say, you're having rough times in your relationship, that can really put a very big dent on your mental health. And once your mental health is declining, you can't have the peace of mind to study, right? You can't have the peace of mind to focus in school. Well, there's so many different causes, and these are some more causes. And well, for me, I don't know if I should talk exactly about like the things that I have that maybe might have caused me to be depressed in the past. But then I did have prolonged periods of time where I felt very worthless and very hopeless. I haven't been suicidal or anything like that, but then there have been times where I felt like my life isn't really going in the direction that I wanted to, and I feel like maybe that has been the biggest source of depression for me. It might be different for other people, but for me, I found that I was expecting a lot from myself, right? Because growing up, I was always pushing myself to do something really big, you see. So as I was growing up and I always felt like maybe the thing that I'm doing isn't leading me on a path that I might like, I started to get really depressed because I felt like my life wasn't going where I wanted it to, right? So my grades were getting really bad at school. I was feeling like maybe I don't really want to be doing this in school, or I'm wasting my life and things like that. Yeah. So being depressed really affected me. It might have affected maybe my relationships with people, affected maybe things I wanted to do, like my writing. It might have affected maybe goals that I had, and school in particular, because school was the main thing that I was doing. So from high school, and high school too was a really, really big, I don't know, high school was difficult, honestly.
It's
yeah,
very
high
difficult.
school was very difficult because there were so many standards, so many rules, and so many, like the system in high school, honestly, can sometimes be not very enabling for a lot of people. Do you get it? Because all of these rules are set in place to make everybody do the same thing, like act the same way, do the same thing all the time, and you don't really have the space to create a very healthy life for yourself at school. So a lot of people in high school, you'd find that are actually depressed, or even if not depressed, they might be going through a lot in life, and they might not really have anybody to talk to about it, because especially in the government schools, there might be a lack of maybe qualified psychologists or therapists to talk to. And so they end up bottling all these things. And we'll be on campus for so long in an enclosed space with no activities to help your mental health and all of that. And when I also came to university, I had periods of time where I felt really down and low, and those kind of affected my schoolwork. And I think we'll move on to talk about maybe ways in which we might have coped. So basically,
if you can share, how did you navigate through that period?
Navigate that period. Well, I can talk about high school, and then now that I'm in university.
So then let's begin with high school.
With high school. So in high school, honestly, I didn't really have helpful ways of coping. So I used to write a lot. So one way that really helped me cope with it was that I didn't really have anybody to talk to about it, but I used to have a lot of journals where I'd write maybe the things that I was thinking or the things that I was going through. And that was a very good way of catharsis for me, because if I'm going through something and I didn't have anybody to talk to about it, I could write it down, right? And once you write it down, it's like you are emptying all the thoughts from your head onto paper. And that was a way of maybe coming to understand the things I was going through. And when I was in school, I didn't really know much about mental health. I didn't really know a lot about depression, anxiety, and so many other disorders. I didn't really know about them, right? So when these things started happening to me, obviously I got very scared. And in high school, it's also a very religious environment, right? And there's so many superstitions when it comes to things like this. So I was thinking the worst things, right? It's like demonic possessions and things like that. So, and I didn't really have anybody to talk to about it, because in high school, everybody is so, I don't know.
Everybody has their problems.
Exactly.
Kind of.
And then the adults in the school too, like, honestly, in high school, not every teacher is.
So one of my friends will tell you that we are very young, and then the expectations on us is like we are grown-ups. Because it's like in high school, it's like your senior housemaster is serious, your housemaster is serious, everyone is serious. So there is no chance or space for you to actually talk to
Exactly.
someone.
Yeah, true. And you'd feel like maybe the thing that you're going through is not important, because you don't really know who's going to listen to you. So in school, writing really helped. And then sometimes if I had a very good friend, I'd talk to them. But honestly, I mostly bottled up most of my emotions. And it also helped. I was very involved in a lot of activities in school. So I pretty much used those things to distract myself. So I didn't really like the academic stuff, but I really liked involving myself in maybe club activities and things like that. And I think that was something that really helped me cope. And when I came to university, that's when I got real help, because at my school, we have, psychologists, we have qualified personnel that are there to help students, right? And so when I realized that these issues that I had were coming back, I had professional help at school. And that's really helpful, because honestly, you can't really deal with this thing on your own. And you can't, it's not all the time that your friends can also help you. Your friends can only do so much by listening, exactly. But they can't help you so much.
Not everyone will listen the way you want
the
them
way
to listen.
Exactly, yeah. But then having a psychologist or a therapist was really helpful, because it's literally their job to understand what you're going through and also help you understand it. So I had somebody to talk to, and then they kind of helped me through the process. And also building a spiritual life was very helpful in all of this. And I used to exercise a lot because that was exercising was also very helpful for me because it kind of woke me up. And it's not a very easy or fast process, right? It sometimes lasts a very long time. And all I had to do was just trust that it would pass or I'll get better, yeah.
So with me, I wanted to just share my ways I dealt with depression. I remember in high school, so for me, I happened to be very free with our school reverend. See, so I walked to her one day and then I told her that, Madam, please, I want help. She was very surprised because, why? Because I pose as someone who is very involved in so many things. So she was surprised when I walked up to her to tell her that I needed help because I'm not finding joy in anything. If I learn, it doesn't stick. I don't even know what I'm doing in school and all of that. And she told me that there's a school counselor.
Yeah.
And then I think most times the reason why we don't know of the counselors is because we are not interested in going for help. So for me, I went to the counselor and then I told her that, so I went to the reverend to tell her that I have a problem and then I need a counselor and all of that. And then she referred me to a counselor actually. And he actually walked me through. I can't share details of the process. However, he helped me a lot because he helped me realize that one of the important reasons why I was going through the depression was because I didn't have a priority. It's like there were so many things I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it was draining me. So one thing that he helped me with is to identify what is important. So you find what is important and then you deal with it one after the other. And then I think one thing that also helped me was that, so like you said, a spiritual life. I don't know how to emphasize on this, but then having a spiritual life actually makes you have a ritual. So like when you wake up in the morning, I'm a Muslim, so I'm supposed to pray 5 times a day. There was a time that I lost it. I don't pray again, and I'm just there. But then I realized that if I wake up in the morning, then I pray. In the afternoon, I pray. Mid-afternoon, I pray. Evening, I pray. Then I pray again. It was actually making me have some kind of shape in life because then now things are filling in the empty spaces that I could have spent thinking about problems that would just keep doubling because I'm focusing on it. Exactly. So instead of focusing on the problem, you look for a solution to actually focus on replacing its kind of thing. And then I think in university, so the down moments for me in university, how did I deal with this? So what I did was that, first of all, I started waking up at 5 a.m. And so around that time, so I have to pray. So after praying, I go for a run. And that emphasizes the fact that exercise. See, because you see, depression and then having a low moment, it makes you very crippled. And you need to create energy yourself because energy won't come from anywhere unless you create the energy. Yeah. And so if the energy is drained, then the mental thoughts also have so much power on you because it creates imaginary walls for you. You understand? So I think that it also helped me a lot. And that is a few I also have to share with how I dealt with depression because you have actually emphasized on the rest. And so are there any final thoughts or something you want to share? So let's just say you have 1 minute or 30 seconds to talk to someone who is going through a very low moment. What would you have to say?
Okay. I think one thing that I'd like to say is that life and its journey is not always rosy, right? There's some times where things are going to be going really well, and then there's some times where things are going to be very bad, right? And sometimes it's also important for us to know how to respond to certain situations, you get it? Because sometimes the way things turn out are not only dependent on the things that happen, but also on the way that we respond to certain things. And when you find that you are going through any mental health issue of any sort, if you're going through depression or you've identified any other maybe disorders that are going on with you, right? It's definitely not your fault, honestly. It might have been because of certain things that happened or certain changes that are even going through your life or going through your body, right? So none of it is your fault. It's just important to make sure that you don't try to deal with it on your own because at that moment, you're not really able to generate a lot of positive energy for yourself. You're not able to have a lot of positive thoughts to move you through whatever you're going through. So it helps to have a very good circle of friends or a very good community of people around you that will even be able to identify that something is going on with you. Because sometimes when you're going through something, you don't want to talk about it at all. But if you have a very good friend or you have good people around you, right, they would be able to identify that there's something going on with you and they can extend help to you. And it's also important to make sure that you seek help, especially there's a lot of stigma around
mental health and
exactly,
depression
yeah, and looking for help, right? But help is available for you, right? There are psychologists, there are therapists, psychiatrists that are trained to help people go through these things. So you have to take the step to get help, right? Especially in schools, there are in-house counselors, there are in-house psychologists and psychiatrists, but sometimes it's kind of difficult to find them. But if you take the step to find them, you will. You can also go to a hospital. Panta is a very good place to get help. There are also a lot of private institutions as well. And there are lots of organizations coming up now that are doing a lot of campaigns for people to get help, right? And I'm sure we can find like some links to these sites and put them in the description box. And it also helps to create a healthy lifestyle for yourself. Like we mentioned, exercise, right? When you're depressed, or well, we're talking mainly about depression, but then there's so many other disorders. But when you're depressed, for example, there isn't much energy to do a lot of things, right? And you don't really have any structure or shape to your life, like you said. But it helps to get a good routine, right? Even if you're not able to get the energy to do a lot of things, right? It helps to pick up certain new habits that will at least keep you sane. You get it? And also you have to make sure that you feel the feelings that you're feeling because they're there for a reason. And just trust that this period might be there to teach you something. And also I think it's important for us to talk about mental health in men as well, because especially in our society, right, people feel like men are supposed to be strong, or men are supposed to be emotionally tough and all of that. But you realize that we are all human beings. Men are also...
Cry when you can cry.
Yeah, men are also going through things. And crying is just a very good way of releasing yourself. So if you feel like you need to cry, you're a man, just cry. If you need help, just get help.
For help.
Exactly, because suicide rates around the world, it's more men that are killing themselves than women. And it's just because they feel like they can't talk to somebody about it. But if you have good people around you that support you as a man or as a young boy or something, you will get people to help you. So don't be ashamed of your feelings. Please make sure you open up and then try and get help as well. And since we were also talking about school, right? School can also be a very big stressor for a lot of people, depending on school can be a very big stressor for people because it's very stressful, honestly. You're going through high school, you're going through university. It's a very stressful process, right? But it's also an important process for you and you can't really skip it, you see? So it's important that when you're in school, also make sure that you find a healthy lifestyle for yourself. Make sure that it's not only the school things that you're focusing on.
It's not the academics.
It's not only the academic things. Find things that you are interested in that make you genuinely happy. And as you're able to do these things that keep your soul alive, you would be able to have a good life for yourself and be able to find a good direction in your life for yourself. What else can we talk about at school? And yeah, these are basically some of the things. And do you have any more?
Yes, so
ideas?
For me, what I would just have to add is that, you see, depression is a stage in life. You go through the process. It's very bad. It goes to bad, then like that. Then it goes to good, then better, then excellent, and like that. And then you get your life back in shape. And so for me, all I have to say is that if you are depressed, if you are going through a very low moment, know that it is a stage in life. Life happens. Life has happened. And you see, one thing about depression or asking for help is that you need to notice it yourself. You need to realize that, oh, my life is really not in shape. My life is not going as I have planned it to go. So if you don't realize, then it makes you always want to add more and add more and add more. And importantly, as a student, you should be very mindful of what you find yourself or the spaces or environments you subscribe to. Because sometimes most of these things breeds a kind of competition among us. And we should realize that, well, for me personally, I think that competition actually stresses us a lot because you feel like, oh, this person is better than me, so I want to do more to also get better. Not recognizing that the potential this person have, I don't have.
Yeah.
What he's good at, I'm not good at. And what I'm good at, he's not good at. So I think that you should basically accept who you are and then you ask for help. For me, I don't know how much to emphasize on it because we are only here to talk, right? We are not mental health experts, nothing of that sort. We are just here sharing our opinions, and we sharing our opinions and how we have dealt with certain stages of our life. Then we are emphasizing on the fact that you should ask for help. Should show you how much it is really important
exactly.
to ask for help, because if you don't ask for help, nothing comes. And it reminds me of an adage that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And it's basically that if you are ready to get help, help will come. You see? So basically, that's all I also have to say.
Okay.
If there is no other thing.
Yeah, actually, I have one last thing to say. Please take care of yourself.
Take care of yourself.
Take care of yourself. Sometimes you would find somebody and they want to do everything. I'm a fault sometimes. Sometimes I want to, how do I say it? I want to do so many things at the same time because I feel like if I'm not doing something, then I'm being useless, you see. But it's important to take care of yourself. The thing, if you die, somebody will come and replace you.
Exactly.
Just make sure you take care of yourself. Take time for yourself outside maybe the work that you're doing or the school work that you're doing. Take care of yourself. Find good habits to do, and also focus on yourself, I guess.
Focus on yourself. So just to add up, Audrey has an episode on how she's becoming a perfectionist or something like that.
Oh yeah, actually,
and I think it literally talks about that you want to do everything on your own.
True.
So I'll put links to that too in the description, so you can have access to it. Audrey is doing amazing stuff. When I put her links, you should be able to subscribe to her YouTube channel.
Okay.
And that will be the end of it. So thank you for watching. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. And until next time, be legendary. My name is Mohammed Napari. Have a nice day.
Bye.